Saira, good to see you. I heard about what happened on Half Moon Island. It's a wonder you and that mercenary made it back alive. But war, it just seems so unreal. How has it come to this? Now we not only have to fight these High Ones, but also some fanatic who thinks he knows best? I know you mean that as a joke, but I'm afraid it's not too far from the truth. Tell me, Saira, how is it possible that our beliefs about what's best for mankind are so different? Why are we so eager to be at each other's throats? I'm not sure. You know what I find so hard to understand? Why there are so few people who actually care. So few people who feel the need to change something like you and I do. There are moments I just feel so powerless. As if we all know that if we keep going like this, we're headed for a catastrophe. But instead of changing course, we just stand by and watch. Do you know the feeling? Yes, I mean, is it so hard to see that this world could be such a better place if we'd only care a tiny bit more about something other than what's happening in front of our doorsteps? You understand what I'm trying to say, don't you? You know that feeling too. I wish I could do that. Whenever I think about it, I find it so hard not to get angry. Take all those upper city snobs with their colorful garments and exotic perfumes. They could put all that money to such good use if only they wanted to, but no, they don't, because they just don't give a damn about the poor. Sometimes I imagine going down there, grabbing one of them by the collar and dragging them down into the Undercity. And there I'd force them to see, just for once. But even that probably wouldn't help. I guess we only care about the things that directly affect us. Who fights against poverty if he's never suffered from it? No, it's not. It should be what everyone does. And once again, you've had to listen to another deluge of my whining. I guess I'm just not a person for pleasantries. Sorry. Anyway, I need to make some preparations now. Master Bartar requested my support with something, and I shouldn't keep him waiting any longer.
This just doesn't make sense. Oh my. You just don't get any younger.
But that's ridiculous. We have to at least try to negotiate.
You know his demands. There's no basis for negotiation.
He has not seen what we have seen. The writings, the memories of the prophetess. If he just realized...
Taranor Korek would rather throw away his comb that had been a mistake. Believe me, I know him.
I am sure the Grand Master has a solution ready. After all, he was the one who dismissed Korek's attempts to negotiate so swiftly.
First we wait for the group's return, then we will see.
But it's been a week.
My dams, my sirs.
Shit. What took you so long? And where is Constantine?
That's a long story.
Those were his final words? I can't believe it.
Simply another victim of the High Ones. If we do not activate the beacon soon, he won't be the last.
Oh, right. The beacon. If it's activated, we'll simply glow the red madness away, won't we? Or maybe we could, for once in all this, do something that actually makes sense and focus our resources on finding an alchemistical or thaumaturgical solution to this problem, rather than trusting in a pile of scrap metal.
Oh, by the prophet's ass, won't you just shut up for a minute? All day long you do nothing but babble, getting on our nerves, and nothing you ever say gets us any closer to a fucking solution. So why don't you just shove off to one of the bathhouses? Go torture the washerwomen with your never-ending lamentations. That would be helpful for a change.
You will take that back.
Will I? Come here and make me. I'd be delighted.
Blasphemy!
Guard your
This is
tongue, wild
blasphemy.
mage, or...
Or what? Are you gonna kill me? That's what you do best, you and your fucking order.
Silence! You are angry, Lishari Pegast, and I understand why. But in the moment you let that anger destroy this alliance, Firespark's sacrifice will have been in vain. Is that what you want? Is that what you want?
No. No, it isn't.
Good. I am tired of this endless bickering. We have a responsibility, and we will fulfill it.
Well said, Aranthiel. And how exactly do you think we are going to do that? Without the sources, the beacon is as worthless as a heap of rusty iron.
The chroniclers are on it, and they will find the answer. Novice, tell Commander Aaron to join us. We need to plan the defense of the land. You, Prophetess, will speak to me as soon as you have recovered. Now, let us get to work.
Please, Tilor, Jorik is right. A war with Nerim? This is madness.
I know that it is going to be tough. We have no choice. The beacon is all that we have.
Yes, the beacon, the beacon, the beacon. We don't even know what this thing does, let alone if it will work. If you start a war only because of that damned machine, it means putting the lives of thousands at risk, only because of some vague idea. This is ludicrous, Tila. It's entirely irrational. The man I knew would never have acted like this.
Yes, because that man is dead. I've made decisions driven by fear and selfishness before, and they were always wrong. I will not let that happen again. Seriously, Natara, stop acting as if this were about reason. You're just afraid of making sacrifices for what you believe in. You always were.
Sacrifices. This is about your damn pride, Tilor. Nothing else.
The sun be praised you've made it. Constantine. He didn't deserve this. It's just not fair. Someone is gonna pay for it. I'll see to that. I have to talk to you as soon as possible. It's about the seal in that letter we found on the mercenaries in Old Rashengrad. I believe I'm onto something. Their client is from Enderal. From Ark, to be more precise. Let's not talk here, though. Meet me in the Dancing Nomad. I'll be in the first room upstairs, right at the end of the staircase. And hurry. Well, why do you think? Come to the Dancing Nomad after you've spoken with Aranthiel. See you there.
Irrelevant. This madman, Koarek. He has completely reshuffled the cards. Now we not only have to deal with the High Ones, but also with him and his fanatics. However, there's also good news. You have probably seen it already. Physically, yes. And we also know how it works now, and how it can put an end to the cycle. It is easier than we thought. The beacon was constructed for one thing, to destroy the High Ones. Once reconstructed, infused with energy and activated, lit, as the Pyreans called it, it can banish the High Ones from this plane of existence. Immaterial, indeed. Essentially, they can be compared to the cold or to shadows. Omnipresent elements, yet we cannot touch them. Energy, if you will. However, there is a counterpart to each energy. Cold and fire, shadow and light, the High Ones and the beacon. Yes. Imagine a torch driving away the darkness in the moment it is ignited. This is what the beacon can do, except that the banishing will be permanent. Yes, as I said, it needs to be infused with energy before it can be lit. I take it you have noticed the 3 sockets on its base. They are what it draws its power from. Once they are filled, the beacon can be ignited and the High Ones will be undone, once and for all. At least, if the old writings are true. The only thing left for us to find out is what these energy sources are. But we are close. Give the Arcanists some more time and I will let you know if there's any news. In the meantime, get equipped accordingly. Some of the Neremes have landed already, and outbreaks of the Red Madness become more and more frequent as we speak. No, there are not enough, and we must keep the few there are in our possession, in case anything unexpected should happen. The only thing we can do to stop the madness is to destroy the High Ones as soon as possible. Well, it's only fair to tell you. You've always been honest to me, so I will do the same. Have you ever heard of the Night of the Thousand Fires? Between 8,192 and 8,202, there was an underground movement in Kira called the Red Half Moon. They were brought into being by a group of intellectuals and philosophers who, under all the freedom of thought Saldrine granted them, started questioning the reign of the Golden Queen, and thus the Lightborn themselves. Saldrine saw himself as the god of knowledge, and accordingly he reigned his country. In Kira, no opinion is forbidden, which is why it is home to countless magic schools and universities, where people do nothing but discuss the reason for being all day long. An appealing thought if you hear it for the first time, but a cunning people isn't easy to reign. There have been more revolts and riots in Kira than bones in a graveyard, and the Red Half Moon was the worst of them. Correct. Just as my son did. But other than him, they fought like cowards. Terror, dust crystals planted in the marketplaces, and assassinations, you name it. If they killed innocents, they blamed the Golden Queen, and if they killed her soldiers, they celebrated themselves as liberators. However, they never succeeded in putting her down, and neither did she in destroying them. Which is why the court turned to the Lightborn for help. A division of the Holy Order led by me, a young keeper of barely 30 winters. None to be taken seriously. You know, not everywhere is the Order as present as here on Enderal, or as it once was on Narem. In Kira, we were ridiculed. I saw the Kiranian keepers who served the Golden Queen. A bunch of decadent gluttons, who had dedicated themselves to the court's banquets rather than to the will of the gods. They were pathetic. A moon after our arrival, we received an anonymous tip on where one of the half-moon spaces was supposed to be located, in a small coastal village. As we entered it, we were greeted by the township's elders, and the villagers themselves had gathered behind them. You should have seen how they stared at us, as if we were plunderers. I should have seen by then that something was wrong. That's what they wanted us to think, and they did a good job at that. A veiled person here, an archer on the rooftops there. I got nervous, because villagers are not, they bested us in numbers, and they had kettled us. Then a man seemed to charge at us, and I gave the order to draw weapons. It was just the spark they needed. No, not a fight. A massacre. The villagers had pitchforks and shepherd staffs, and we had shadow steel swords, let alone the fact that we were trained warriors. I realized that I had made a mistake a split second after it started, but it was too late by then. My men, they slaughtered them all, like pigs. At the end of the day, 300 people were dead, and only 10 of them were keepers. Have you ever been in a big battle? Even if my men would have stopped, the villagers were blinded with rage and panic. No. From the moment I gave the order, it was too late. Well, what better proof of the Lightborn's cruelty is there than a division of keepers who, out of pure wickedness, slaughtered an entire village, women and children included? If the people had already distrusted us before that distrust had turned into hatred, then nothing could have changed that, not even the Golden Queen's heralds. We set sail back to Enderal a week later. 2 years after that, the Red Half-Moon destroyed itself due to infighting. Ironic, isn't it? Maybe. The Lightborn and the Grandmaster back at that time showed the compassion I wouldn't grant myself. But I learned one thing, and that is that I will never again let fears about my own life influence my decisions. What happened in Kira was the consequence of my own cowardice, and my unwillingness to give my life for a just cause. That will never happen again. What? Really? That's interesting. Provided this is true, that means that the emissaries aren't just people who fight the cleansing. They are people who fight for it too. And that also means that whoever granted us our powers and our purpose isn't an enemy of the High Ones, but a neutral party. I beg your pardon. What? And the same goes for me? That's ridiculous. They wanted to deceive you, to sow discord. I saw the threat the cleansing posed before anyone else did. And without me, we would have never come that far. Something changed inside me since I fled from my prison. I feel it. And it is the same thing that made you a part of all this. Now, enough of this.
You. How are things? You look a little...
Can I help you?
Yes?
Prophetess, are you in there? There are... Kirat, what? Why? What have you done? Watch your tongue, Shari. Be glad that the blood is already dry, or else you'd be nothing but a pile of bones by now. Forgive me. I just can't believe it. Anyone but Lishari? Yes, I know, Nea. But she was a good woman. We both know that we're not involved in this, so please tell me why you and Lishari wanted to meet up here? Were the two of you close? I wasn't aware Lishari liked women, too. So why? Your gift. I see. But then who has killed her? This doesn't make any sense. Maybe the murderer has left a clue. We have to search. What's this? Let me see. Yes! This could be our clue. No, certainly not. But come to think about it, it doesn't really help us either. There are so many dust addicts in Ark, it would take years just to count them. Oh, by the name of the sun, I will inform the Order. Yes, you do that. But come back to the temple as soon as you're finished, alright? The Archmagister has found something out about those sources we need for the beacon, even though he paid a high price for it.
Just how they are.
Me! Stew! Roast pork! Anyone?
Some people just don't know their
Potatoes, garlic, radish. Yeah,
Oh.
that should be it.
Uh?
Move along.
This way. Jesus, why is that stuff so expensive?
Yeah, as if. Really need a new herbal essence for my hair.
put that.
Oh, let's.
Potatoes, garlic.
No veg.
Yeah. Should be it.
The light fades.
Pathlessness wherever you look. Where is this?
Oh, hey.
lead?
Yes. Yes, that just might work.
Huh? Prophetess.
Ah, if it isn't the prophetess. What's wrong? You look troubled. I know. Shah Rim has already told me. I hardly knew her, but it's horrible. Different ideologies or not, she was a fine young mage, and her knowledge of the Pyreans was impressive. We need to find the ones who did this, and fast. But you probably already know that. Thank Malphus we just had a breakthrough with the beacon. At least as far as the sockets go, yes. In the old tablets you found in Old Dothugrat, there's talk of black embers, which are supposed to be some kind of energy supply for the machine. This is what we've been asking ourselves over the past few weeks, and then it fell like pelt from our eyes. The Pyreans were talking about the Black Pearls. Old jewels, sometimes known as Blackstones. They appeared for the first time in the Golden Era, and every self-important noble literally fought to get one in his possession. Apparently they originated from Stormwind, the old city in the heart of Octwind. They changed owners for decades, sometimes by violence, sometimes by gold. The whole thing only stopped when the owners took note of an undesirable side effect, if you like. No, at least not with any known magic. And that's what's so strange about it. Nevertheless, all of their owners eventually shared the same fate. Countess Katua from Nerim, for example, whose castle burnt down to its foundations. According to a survivor of this tragedy, she was to blame for that. He claimed that he saw her the night it happened, laughing hysterically and dancing in the dining room and summoning waves of fire all around her. She was not previously known to have any magical talent in her. Correct. Plus, all of them eventually showed similar symptoms of delusion, like those possessed by the Red Madness do. A peculiar coincidence, if you ask me. Not quite.
Those who owned a pearl tried to get rid of it, or lock it up somewhere safe, and eventually they fell into oblivion. Tell her your theory, Archmagister.
Yes, of course. We believe that the stones carry energy, pure, uncontrolled magic, and that the High Ones use them for their own purposes. Correct. The pearl's magic make their owners powerful, but the High Ones befoul them, so to speak. Like a poison potion. I know it sounds odd, but the parallels are too striking to ignore. The red shimmer in the victim's eyes, the slow descent into madness, and ultimately this irrational, destructive act of violence. That's what we thought too, but it seems that we were wrong. Maybe the High Ones never leave our planes at all, even after the cleansing. Maybe they are even part of this world, just like the tides or the elements. And the death of the gods is only what really sets them rolling, so to speak. That's a question I've been asking myself since we first learned of the cycle. Who knows? Maybe they like for us to suffer. Or maybe they see us as we see ants, whose lives simply mean nothing. Or maybe the very concept of intentions is meaningless to them. That's what we think, yes. Nothing else in this world possesses that much raw power.
Which is why you will find them for us. No, because we know what we are dealing with, unlike those who fell victim to the stones. Imagine them as a powerful, magical sword. A fool won't know how to wield it and will eventually cut himself with it. A seasoned warrior, however, can use its power for his purposes. Which doesn't mean, however, that we will be careless with them. What we need is their energy. And once we have transferred that to the beacon, their shells will be useless to the High Ones.
Remind me not to burst into tears.
Correct. That's right. But we don't need all of them. The beacon has 3 sockets, and that is how many of the stones we will acquire.
One day.
Archmagister.
I studied the history of the pearls as a young arcanist, and I think that my notes might give you some hints as to where you should start looking. Give me until tomorrow. By then I will have prepared the relevant excerpts. Just come to me whenever you have questions.
And hurry. I take it you have already noticed this, but Nerimi's troops are roaming our land and building outposts, and the Red Madness is also getting worse as we speak. Now go, Prophet. The sooner we find these stones, the better. Yes? I have been told. It is a great loss for our cause. You were the one who found her, weren't you? Why was she in the tavern? And how did you know where to find her? And she did not say anything else? That was foolish. Here in the temple, the murderer would not have had such an easy time. And whatever it was she found out, she took it to the grave with her. Now we are back at the beginning. I will ensure that she gets a proper funeral. Commander Aaron will take care of the investigation.
Yes? Well, finding out about the Blackstones was definitely a great step forwards, but still, we're left with a myriad of questions. Sometimes I feel pathetic, to be honest. Like a child asked to understand the functioning of a Starling airship. I do? Thought I had gotten rid of it by now. But yes, I'm originally from Nerim. Just like you, as I've heard. Oh, I don't know. Probably because I don't have very fond memories of my time there. You know, if someone would have told you 20 years ago that one day I would be the Archmagister of the Holy Order, you'd have probably laughed in his face. It's absurd just to think of it. You know, I was a slave there. Yes, you see, I was born into a traveling group of Aeterna minstrels. I never got to know my father, though, and living that way was hard. So my mother eventually decided to burn all bridges behind us and start over. Sorry, I'm babbling. I don't want to bother you with my boring stories. Well, after some days on the road, we met a traveling merchant who gave us a ride to the next village. A small one named Sildren in the Salathan forest. It seemed almost perfect at the beginning. The place was quiet, and my mother found herself a job as a weaver in the local count's castle. One day, however, the count simply stopped paying her, and, well, when she asked for the reason, he told her that we were his property from that moment on. Just like that. Why wouldn't it be? We were just a woman and a young son, and he owned both the land and the local guard. We had to serve this Creo, that was the Count's name, for 9 years. It was horrible. No. No one. We weren't the only slaves he kept, and the villagers were too afraid to do anything. As for Chancellor Baratheon's armies, well, I'd be surprised if they even knew Sildren existed.
I thought you were in the city.
Pure luck, I suppose. One day, an Enderalian merchant and his escort passed through the village. They were on their way to Waverock to catch a ship from there. And just by coincidence, he saw me crushing some herbs I had found in the forest. That's what I did in the little spare time I had, you know. The Salathan forest is so incredibly rich with plants you have no idea. What I didn't know was that I had found an entire sheaf of God's tongue. That impressed the merchant so much that he simply bought me.
The infection.
What do you mean?
He left her there. Believe me, what he did had nothing to do with mercy. He just saw that there was money to be made off of me. I cried and protested, of course, but 2 months later, our ship arrived in Ark, where he got infected with flesh maggots and died shortly thereafter. Luckily enough, he was a sublime. And since his relatives didn't know what to do with me once he was dead, they simply asked the Order to grant me the novitiate, which they did. The left path sounds crazy when I tell it like that, and it probably is. But back then, it just happened. I tried, but as you can imagine, my obligations made my options to do so very limited. Only recently, however, word reached me from a mercenary whom I sent over. According to him, Creo is dead, and his castle was deserted. But who knows if he just said that to appease me. I think when all of this is over, I might ask the Grandmaster for permission to travel there myself. And then, who knows? By the righteous path, now I really am babbling. I'm sure a woman like you has better things to do than listen to the stories of a boring chronicler. I should probably get back to business. Forgive me. Hello.